instead, and hopefully, so we'll see. I'll tell you what, how I would do it normally is I'd just log on here to check my oh, look, live. Yes, this is streaming live to YouTube. Yeah. You do that every class? Yes, I do this every class. I did it every class last semester. Well, actually, no, not every class last semester. The first couple of classes last semester were done with the old way, the way that Mike does it. I'm trying so desperately to get him off of it. It's a thing. So we've got now, but I do this I did this as a trial last spring, worked really well. And I'll tell you what, you guys are in for a treat because now the live streams are in 1080p. It's going to be like, oh, because they used to be these like low res garbagey things, which were really hard to kind of do demos with because you're like, well, if I had the screen real estate, I'd show this to you. So anyway, you can see that I have a good stream. At least it's okay. Coming through at 720. I'll deal with that. It's fine. And live control room. Yes, we're here. I don't want to create lives. I want to see that we have a public view that is playing. Oh, look. And there's me. Yeah, you hear my voice. So I'm like, okay. Okay. So welcome, everybody. Yeah. Oh, it's a great first start when Mike is so late leaving. And I don't say that to be mean or nasty, but just that, well, you know, it is what it is. I'll leave it. So if you are here for CS74.21C, you are in the correct class. If this is not the numbers that you're looking for, you probably should come check in with me ASAP. I am going to quickly take a quick roll call here so that I know who's here, and then at the break, if you're not on the list, I think Mike gave me a couple of names of people who haven't yet added the class, so I may speak with a couple of you, but what we'll do is we'll do a quick check-in with who's in the room. We'll go through all of this so that you have a sense of where to find information for this class. And then I have a brief pre-quiz for you. And that is not graded. It's basically, I'm doing it as a survey. So it's just I want to know what you guys know already. And the questions will probably give you a little bit of an indication of the sorts of things that you'll learn in this class. So hopefully that helps. And you know, if you already know all these things, we can go into even different topics, and I'll spiral out of control that way. All right. So let's say Heather Alvarado here. All right. Alan, is it Aparicio? Aparicio. I'll get it. Trust me. Alexei Brown. Alexi. Okay. All right. Annabelle Burke. Yes. Oh, and we'll yeah. Don't let me forget, but I'm gonna get back to that in a second. Let me get through this. Julian Cuerda. All right. What's that? Julian? No. All right. Cool. I'm like, if you guys start messing with me, it's gonna get ugly fast. Alex Pena, is it Pena or Pena? It's Diaz Pena. Okay. Diaz Pena. All right. Your Diaz is. Yeah, Diaz is fine. All right. Okay. Logan Emerson. Celine Gossage. Is it Gossage? All right. Satora. Here. Kamalova. Mm-hmm. All right. Ilana Kimmelman. Yeah, I'm here. Oh, okay. Cool. Welcome. Elliot Lane. Lucas McCormick. Lucas. All right. And Elliot Murphy. Yeah, so there's two Elliots. Woo! I have classes that I'll get in my background in a second, but I have classes with two Ethans, three Jacobs. So, you know, it's all, I'm used to this now. Heather. Yes. All right. Lariva. Hi. Evan. Evan didn't make it to his class. Oh, man, I'm sad. Evan Palmerston was another student that was trying to do the class again. So hopefully he shows up. Oh boy, this one's going to be hard. Is it Wiley? Wiley? Why is the U there? I don't want. Don't answer that. Wiley. Okay, cool. Colin Sager. All right. All right, cool. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna take it. Is it Quansiva? Quansiva? Give it to me.
It's Quansiva.
Quansiva. All right, I can see that in there, but it's like Naomi Takeuchi.
Oh, you even got the last name right.
Yeah, I'm better with Japanese. I got a brother-in-law who lives in Tokyo. Josh Tambernini. All right. And Ben. All right. So only one of you's not here. Anybody whose name I haven't called? None. Sweet. Okay. So, all right. So, oh, your hand is up. Okay. Yeah, I saw your name on the list. Come see me at the break, and we'll talk. I can give you an ad code. That's fine. I know that you guys are going through something. There's one other person who I guess is not here. Okay, so this is the homepage for the website for in Canvas for the class. You'll see that there's just a few things in here, and I get to finally strike this from the list. This was classically, I taught 4 applications in this class. These are the icons from Adobe. So this is Premiere, this is Audition, this is After Effects, and this little thing here is Encore. And I talked with Mike, and I double checked, I triple checked, I quadruply checked. I said, we're really not doing it, right? He's like, yes, we're really not. So we're not teaching Encore as a DVD authoring software as part of the course anymore. So if you were banking on knowing how to author a DVD using Encore CS6, which is now so old that it doesn't even run in the OS properly, either in Windows or in Mac. It's really, yeah, it's old. So that's primarily the class will be running with Premiere and After Effects with a brief dash of Adobe Audition. All right, let's talk through the syllabus. Okay, so I don't want to get too crazy with this. I'm sure that you've read through syllabi before, but this class is going to teach you industry techniques on how to do post-production for advanced projects, meaning that it's not just going to be cutting together, doing some basic audio mixing, and then exporting out of Premiere. Is that more complicated workflows in the Adobe kind of ecosystem almost always includes using After Effects for certain tasks. And especially if you're doing audio work and you don't use what the industry standard is, which is really Avid's Pro Tools, Adobe Audition is a reasonably capable alternative. And that is with an asterisk. So it is capable. That's not a lie, but I'm just saying. So outcomes for the class. When you finish this, the idea is that you'll be able to produce professional quality videos, correct and mitigate color, sound, and other quality problems that happen in video productions, and build sophisticated video compositions using several media sources and blending techniques. So that is basically what you will be charged with. You're going to learn more than this, but if you can do these things, we've succeeded. Some of the objectives, you're going to work with footage and add transitions inside of Premiere, video effects, titles, composition or composites. You're going to mix and repair audio. You're going to apply special effects, audio effects, create a musical bed. combining composite moving imagery, still images, graphs, text, and sound into in 2D or 3D coordinate space, and then animate virtually any aspect of that. And that is what we call the endless rabbit hole. And you will hear this from me over the course of the semester. You're going to use visual effects and to stylize and distort and animate text in A3. So there's a component of there's a big component of visual effects, and then there's also a component of motion graphics, and that actually is something that we're kind of recalibrating the course this semester for. So stay tuned. A lot of the calendar of this class was geared around a certain sequence of activities, and as we progress through this, I'm shuffling things a little bit. The first quarter of the first like 5-6 weeks are pretty well understood what we're going to do. As we get further on, I'm going to be moving things around. So if you see things change inside of Canvas, or you see modules move from one to the other, or you see activities move around, don't freak out. Just ask questions, or if you see a problem or a typo, or hey, Randy, that's not where it looks like it should be, let me know, and I can make fixes. If you just assume that it's correct, well, you and I might both be miserable. So class meetings, you're in the right room. Tuesdays, 7 to 10 p.m. That's the way it's been for the last few years. Here's my contact information. So my email address, the phone number is my personal mobile number. So you will ring this phone right here if you call that number. Office hours, I keep them basically just before this class. So you can find me in the CS faculty offices. I take the office that's right at the end. If you walk down that hallway, opposite at the very other end of the room, and you walk all the way down towards the end, past the stairs, you'll see a window, and I will be in there between 6 and 7 p.m. So you can find me there. You can always contact me and make an appointment if you need to meet with me outside of these hours. You're going to use this website for assignments. This is where you're going to find your homework assignments, the weekly objectives, any lectures, any links to these YouTube live stream lectures that we're doing. All of that will be available to you inside of Canvas. So just go click on modules, and you'll look under the current week, and you should be able to find anything there. Again, if you can't, let me know. There's also we'll go through some of the prelims up in the modules in a moment. Textbook. Okay, so this is where there's still some good news. Last year, the Sonoma County Library made a deal with lynda.com. They basically provide lynda.com free to all Sonoma County residents. All you need is a library card. How many of you guys have a library card? Okay, everyone else, go get a library card. It's free for Sonoma County residents. If you don't live in Sonoma County, then it's a little more difficult, but at the same time, it's cheaper than spending $30 a month on lynda.com. Generally speaking, all of the homework will be assigned using lynda.com videos. I am updating which videos we're going to be using in Lynda. So this week we're not using lynda.com. Next week we'll start. But because the nature of the software, every year I come back to teach this, it's a new version of Premiere and After Effects. They do basically I wouldn't call them major releases, but they're pretty solid feature upgrades every single year. So every year I have to spend a little bit of time what's changed, and provide that so that you guys, so part of that is that lynda.com instructors do the same thing. They're constantly creating new content. And so if we wrote a textbook, which we have talked about doing, writing our own textbook of how to do video post-production, it'd be out of date by the time we printed it and sold it to you. So yeah, there you go. Questions? Yeah.
So the library card is free?
Yes, Sonoma County Library card. I got mine.
Would we just go to the
Go down to the branch. You usually would take some form of identification that shows that you're a. Where is my library card? Oh crap! But you show that you take some ID that shows residency, and they'll just sign you up.
Right next to the Contington Mall.
Yep, that one. That one's under construction, so you might need to look. They're doing some updates there, but there's a few other branches to choose from. You can always go downtown to the main library.
Once we have the card, how do we get access?
So when you get your card, you're going to create a PIN. And actually, I have a video that shows how to do that in how to sign up for Linda and all of that. That's actually in the announcements. We can go through that too. But I've already created some of this content from last year, and I was like, thank you, I remembered. So how to access lynda.com using your library card. It's relatively easy. You go to a website, you'll type in your library card number, you'll type in your PIN code, and you're in. So it's very straightforward. Okay, Lorena.
I just want to say before, when I was going to take this class, that was not all set up. So
no,
everybody is so lucky now that it's just like,
yeah, it's and the fact that it's still in place and it's all easy, it's super much better. So much happier because yeah, we were really nail biting there last year. Okay. Additionally, completely optional but a handy additional text. If you're into dead trees, there's a couple of really cool books that I own. I've bought dead trees. That one of them is Premiere Pro Studio Techniques. It's really interesting. Some of the stuff we'll be doing today in class is based on that book. And then there's another one, which is Adobe After Effects CC, which is the first version of Creative Cloud, AECC. Visual Effects and Compositing Studio Techniques is another. These are kind of industry practices for how to set up. I won't really do too much with either of them, but except for the exception of tonight's material. Materials and supplies. The important thing to understand is that you guys do need to have your own USB external hard drive, okay? How we do homework in this class is not like you did homework in CS74.21B or earlier where you would load it onto the server. We don't load things onto the server here, mostly because I'm here one day a week. And so I'm coming back to here to pull content off of the server is a non-starter for me. I work full-time at Annalee High School, and then I come here and teach on Tuesday nights, and then I also, we'll talk about all the rest of it in a second. So what we do have is that when you do homework, you will, the school has provided these little. So I have a USB flash drive, one for every single one of you, but that is just so that you can turn in your homework assignments, okay? Your homework assignments are generally going to be hundreds of megs to over a gig, and we're not going to go slam the server with all of that content. You can bring it and put it on these instead, and I take them home. I basically have a streamline. In fact, I'm still using the same laptop that I've been using for 4 years to do this, where I have a process. I've got tooling and all this other. It's great fun to sit down, drink coffee, and cycle through USB drives. But I have my process to be able to consume all of that content onto a separate drive that's not on the server. So these drives don't leave the classroom except with me. Okay. You need to have your own, either one of these or something bigger like an external hard drive, either 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte, or if you're into solid state disks, you can get one of those either. I don't care. So just be aware that these are not the drives that you need. You need to have a separate one. Okay.
Question?
Yeah.
So we will bring our homework project on our own drive, put it in, and then transfer it to your drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the best. That's usually how it plays out. Is you guys will come in, plug your drive into these one of these workstations, and then transfer across. Most of these, unfortunately, are older USB 2.0 flash drives, so they're slow. I do have about I think 10 of them that are USB 3.0, and they're really good. I got more than 10 of you. So labs. As a student of this course, you do have access to the labs downstairs and at Petaluma. Generally speaking, this room is locked if there's no class in session and there's no teacher here. But if there is, like if, for instance, look around the room, you see that not every workstation here has a body on it. If somebody from another class came in and said, hey, can I work on my project in your room while you're teaching, I'd be fine with it. So that's kind of what I mean by this is like, if the staff or faculty in this room are okay with you working in here, this is a fine place to work, and it certainly would be quieter than what you get down in the business lab. So, but there are diagrams on the doors and on that file cabinet over there that kind of tells you what's happening in this room over the course of the week. Required software is Premiere Pro, Audition, and After Effects. We're using the 2018 version of all the software. So if you have been using the 2017 version, it's time to upgrade. If you don't have Creative Cloud subscription, use the labs or get one for the course for the purposes of this course. I think for students it's $20 a month, and it would be for what, 4 months. So it's not like it's, I mean, it's about the cost of a textbook to be able to use all the software during this class. Important dates, if you're into that, first class meeting, last class meeting, blah, blah, blah. These are all in the academic calendar. I just copy pasted them here. So don't get, you know, if these are incorrect, definitely refer to what's at santarosa.edu. Dropping the class, if you want to drop it, you may be dropped if you don't show up, okay? So you know, people who aren't here in the first class, I give you until the second class to show up, and then you know, at that point, I'm kind of like, yeah, if you can't make it the first 2 weeks without letting me know, I'm good. I'll just drop you. So if you don't want to be here, and this is not the class for you, you don't have to show up next week, but you should let me know either way, or just drop yourself. It's a face-to-face course. This course lives and dies by your presence. Your success in this class really, really determines your ability to be here. So if you're not, and so with that in mind, we actually have a student here who needs, desperately, I think, but needs a ride back to Cloverdale after class each night. If any of you are in the area and can provide that, come see me. If you know, or if you're willing to, that would be even better. But you know, don't go out of your way. But if I have a student that needs to be able to get back to Cloverdale each night, she doesn't have the ability to get there herself. So if you can help secure transportation, that would be fantastic. Thank you. I might even consider extra credit. Who knows? So, yeah, Uber. Boy, that's an expensive Uber bill. Yeah, so there you can take this class as a pass or no pass. You know, the paperwork is online with the admissions and records. If you get a C or better, basically by my grading, you would get a P. And you have until this week to file for that if you want. I know that some students have in the past done this pass, no pass for like an audit sort of basis. They're just like, they don't really care if they get credit or not. They just want to take the class and don't care about a grade. So instructor announcements and QA forum are all up there. We'll show about those. Expectations, knock yourselves out. Basically, this is just telling you that if you want to email me how best to reach me so that I can flag it. I put rules in my email that basically highlights student emails, and if I don't see that, then I have to wade through the ocean of email that all Santa Rosa junior college teachers get, which is a lot. Each week, you're going to have an assignment. You're going to have an assigned question. This is something that Mike does, and I'm doing as well. I'm working with him to try and finesse it to be a little more streamlined this time around, so it's not quite as much of a death march for the beginning of class. But the idea is that these generally are questions that we ask that have to do with the previous class session. So if you come to class, you we talk about the topic of that week, and it might be this week it's media management and intermediate codecs. Next week it's going to be audio work, and then we're going to talk about effects in Premiere and so on. As each of those weeks, you're going to need to come up with a question about that topic that you want the answer to. I will choose from among those and create kind of a Q&A presentation that we'll go through at the top of the class, basically showing what, and reviewing, answering additional questions about the previous week's material so that we can start the next week with a nice clean slate and feeling like you're ready to move forward. Submitting homework. So yes, all assignments are submitted on those USB drives. I don't do them on the department server, unless you're desperate. I've done a couple of cases where there's a misconnection with the student and they uploaded it to the server. And I made special accommodations to pick it up. But if you're here in class, just load it on the drives and we're good. And yeah. Yes, completion of the final project and final quiz. We'll talk about the final project next class. You do have a semester-long project in this class that we will go into in excruciating detail. And the final exam, basically, which is required in order to get a grade. So if you skip out on either of those, you're really, it's going to be an incomplete or just F. Exams, yeah, we should have a midterm and final and 2 quizzes. Material comes from your homework, class lectures, and some supplemental materials. If you miss an exam, yeah, you get no points. Let's see, the grading is desperately boring. It's a very flat grading, and then the standards of conduct and so on. This is a tentative list of weekly topics now, and again, this is on the website. You're welcome to look through it. But for tonight, we're going to talk about media management, as I said. Next week will be advanced audio, sound design, effects in Premiere, and so on. We'll do. And these could be subject to change in the first few weeks, but generally speaking, we're gonna start the semester with a few things in advanced topics in Premiere, with that dash and sprinkling of Audition for audio work, and then we're going to dive into After Effects, and basically the remainder of the semester will be After Effects. And there's a reason why the remainder of the semester is After Effects, because it is a very complicated and deep subject that you can spend weeks and weeks learning and still kind of feel like, really? So just be aware of that. Okay, and so on. I think I'm done with the syllabus. Are there any questions?
So I just wanted to find out if all of the software you're going to be using is loaded both on all of our computers as well as in the lab those years, because in the past they haven't been always updated. So I
asked last November, before this semester started, I said, Karen, who's the lab tech, I said, Karen, what version of Creative Cloud are you going to have? She's like, we're going to have 2018. So Adobe Audition 2018, Adobe Premiere 2018, and After Effects. See? There it is. Okay, so even After Effects CC is 2018. So these are the versions that should be loaded on all of your computers. These are almost all identically flashed with the image that's on them. So if you find that that's not the case, absolutely let me know right away. But yeah, the version that we're going to teach is this version here. Okay, good question. All right. Okay. So now 7:30, right on. Any other questions about the syllabus and what we're doing? Cool. Okay, so let me quickly get I'm going to post something as an announcement. So everybody, if you can, log into canvas on your workstation. So open up a browser, whether that's Firefox, Chrome, or Safari, or whatever you want. Though Chrome is probably the right one for this. I'm going to put an announcement up real quick with the URL for this. So I did a quick Google Forms thing today, and there we go. So I'm going to copy this and put it into announcement. So pre-quiz. Whoop. All right. Here's the link for you. And then just go ahead and grab this. Now, the idea is that once this goes out, hopefully you guys will see it. All right. Oh no, I got to make it a. I got to make it a link, don't I? Dang, these editors! I swear. All right, there we go. Okay, so now it's copy paste, and you can click on it. So when you click on this, it's going to basically take you to what I'm calling my little student pre-quiz. These are anonymous. I don't care. It's not that you have to give your name or any of this other stuff. I'm just interested in what the room knows. And take a few minutes. And I think there's 10 questions. I'll give you 5-10 minutes tops.
And this will go directly back to you?
Yeah, we'll take a look at it right after you're done. So. Give you a bit.ly link. Let's see. No, don't want to do that. I want to do. Oh no, I want to do that. I want to do this. Okay. Right. It's going to be super janky, but I'm going to still do it. I'm going to paste this into a document. I'm going to save it in my folder on the server, which I haven't logged into yet. That's super cool. So let's go here. Go server. So if you know how to log into the CS74.21 account in to access the file server, I will put this fantastic file right there. It's going to be super fun. So if you're watching the stream, don't mind this. I'll probably cut this out someday. You know, don't freak. You should still be taking the quiz.
Are the live streams just for us to go back and check?
Yeah, live streams are there for you to, and I've had some students that were like sick one week would tune into the live stream, and so they'd watch it live while we were doing the things, and that is certainly a possibility as well. So if you're really slick tiger, totally tech savvy, you could, but the class is not a remote class, so that's why we don't really advertise it that way.
Question about your 2D animation class.
Yeah.
Will you be making any comparisons to animate?
No, I won't. Good question. Okay, so Should be there. Oh, okay. Class materials. There we go. Okay, so if you go to CS74.21C in-class materials week 1, you'll find this text file that gives you a link to this survey. Okay. Now, where's my water bottle?
If you want to take it again.
You can certainly try.
Yeah, why did he give us, like, I thought you were giving us like the results link.
No, I will.
Yeah. I would say, have a class too. Oh, because he's not got class. Yeah, that
All right, a couple more seconds and then we'll, yeah, no, if you guys are taking the quiz, that's cool. That's perfect. If you just hang tight. And then we will round it up. So the idea is not to know, I mean, if you were confronted, if you felt completely like, I have no idea what the answer is, great, guess. It's all good. I'm curious what your guess would be too. But we'll go through each of these real briefly and talk through them. So David, let me know. You almost there?
I got it.
You're blazing through, right? All right, cool. So, okay, 21 responses. We're not going to look at individual ones. We're just going to look here. So what is an intermediate codec? Most of you actually got this one. So it is a video encoding method. So you know what a codec is. But an intermediate codec is one that is designed for or not, well, yeah. It's just better suited for video editing, for nonlinear editing purposes. The codecs that cameras usually shoot are not particularly well suited for doing video editing. Fun fact. How do video tracks stack in Premiere Pro? Upper tracks cover up lower tracks based on blending modes and alpha channels. Most of the distractors are really lame. That's why you guys got this one. But no, that's true. It is the idea of video tracks in Premiere is how you will how you kind of lay something on top of each other like a stack of stack of papers. We will talk about how that correlates to how you work in Premiere, or sorry, how you work in After Effects. It's slightly different nomenclature, but you know we'll get to that. How do audio tracks stack in Premiere? So it's not that upper tracks are all. Well, the one that was the big one was like all audio tracks mixed based on which is the loudest media. That's not actually the case because the Premiere has facilities in it to make individual clips and tracks of audio louder or quieter on individually or independent of how loud the media actually is. What are the two audio mixers in Premiere Pro?
So what was the answer to the last one?
To this one?
Yeah.
It is that all audio tracks mix based on media clip and audio track settings. Okay. But the important thing is that, you know, the one that you want to make sure that you understand is that it's not because tracks that are up above other tracks will be louder. It's not that there's no correlation in terms of how you stack audio tracks that way. But just understanding that there is a difference between how audio tracks and video tracks relate to one another. What are the two audio mixers in Premiere Pro? Audio effect mixer. I'm surprised. That's cool. All right. So it is actually the clip mixer and the track mixer. Everyone got the track mixer pretty well. The clip mixer was the tricky one. Okay. The clip mixer is designed for, and we'll go through all of this, so don't freak out. Don't take notes, please. The audio clip mixer is just for the clips that are actually in a timeline, whereas the track mixer is independent of what media clips are in that track. So it's kind of like an overall. And what is a blending mode? You guys should, yes. And you guys did blending modes in B, yes? Some blending modes. So there's, in Photoshop, and we'll talk about how they are similar in both Premiere and After Effects. Funny, this one is the hard one. So what is the primary work product of Premiere Pro CC? We actually do talk about this. And it's actually the minority answer right here. So it's a sequence. We'll talk about why that is. Okay. And what is the name and color effect that's primarily used by Premiere Pro and After Effects? Oh, a lot of you got this one. Lumetri color, that's been kind of on their radar for at least a couple years now. So that name should be familiar to you. What are the two major 3D render engines available inside of After Effects? The two are Ray Trace 3D and Classic 3D. This was a, wow, I got you guys out on this one. So Element 3D is actually a plugin for After Effects, as is Trapcode Particular. So these two are the render engines that we'll be talking about. And what is the primary work product of After Effects? You guys nailed this one. Composition. And audio effect. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you guys, yeah, because audio editing is, I mean, After Effects sucks at audio editing. It is the worst. I mean, out of the three applications, if you try to do audio editing in After Effects, you are in for misery. So, yeah. All right. Good. All right. That was just a little fun thing to get a sense of where you guys are at. So hopefully at the end of this this semester, you're going to know all of this and much more in terms of what are the correct answers and why. And we'll go into that. So, all right. So let's talk about, I'm going to go back to doing the student view because it's going to just make more sense for you guys. So in weeks, so we call this semester long. I got this first module. It's called semester long resources. Some of these are the ones that are kind of you've seen them in every Canvas class you've taken. If you've never taken a Canvas class, go ahead and read them. If you haven't, then these four are pretty much going to be boilerplate that you've seen. So you're free to read them or not. Q&A about this course. This is actually a discussion topic for you guys to use to contact me if it's in a more public setting. If you have serious issues about me or about my teaching style, this isn't probably the right place to put a comment about it. But I've had students do that. You suck, and I'm like, wow, thanks. So okay, that certainly is one way to give me feedback. You could always email me too. So yeah. But if you have a question about the course, you can ask it here. I will respond within 24 hours. If you, the idea though is that if it's a question, if you think you have a question about the course, it may very well be that other students are interested in that answer as well. That's why I put this up. So it's kind of a little wiki-ish sort of thing where you guys will share a little bit of knowledge with each other. It's there for your use if you want. If you look a little further, there's the weekly Q&A thing and the semester project are the two other things. Again, do I not have, I thought I had something in here for, maybe not. the weekly Q&A thing. So again, each week what I would do is I would put the I do them up in a little Google Slides presentation, and we go through them, and then I can post them here so that you guys can read through them again if you want to relive the glory that is the Q&A. And then again, there's this semester project is mostly accurate. It is changed mostly because I started to strip out all the references to making a DVD, which was part of the work product of the semester project. That is no longer the case. So there might still be mention of it in here, and you'd be like, "But Randy, there's no DVDs." It's like, no, there's no. We will. I'm going to work with Mike over the next several weeks, trying to figure out if there's an interactive video alternative to DVD that we can create that isn't too crazy for you guys. Because part of that is what was cool about DVD or Blu-rays was that they were actually really kind of it was nice, well-packaged, consumer-friendly, drop it in the player, close the drawer, and it works. You know, if you can successfully author a DVD or a Blu-ray into an image, and then you can burn that image 1 time, 10 times, 100 times, however many blank discs you've got, you can create a predictable copy and paste experience for a viewer. With most of the online avenues for distribution these days, I mean, you know, you can name them, you know which ones they are. You know, there's YouTube, there's Vimeo, and if you have some in on the industry, you can probably get your stuff on, you know, Netflix or on Amazon Video, or on there's VHX was another one that you could that creators could use to publish content on. But those are just like websites that you go to click on and watch a video. It's not an experience like a Blu-ray or a DVD used to be, where you had menus and you had transitions and clip buttons that you click and things happened and extras and, you know, bonus features and all that stuff. None of that exists in the current online distribution model. Yeah.
And that's just within the last year, 2 years?
No, this transition's been largely, I mean, you can still go down and buy Blu-rays. You can still go down and get DVDs of things. It's just fewer and fewer people are asking for them. You still have clients that do ask for them occasionally. Most of the time, they're more than happy to just take it on a USB stick that you put a flash drive, and you just load your video on this, and they plug it into whatever they plug it into. And even these days, you can plug some of these USB flash drives into TVs, and it will play directly on. So it's like the technology has caught up to the point where discs, like the way that we would do Blu-rays and DVDs, it's not relevant. I mean, Apple was right, and by, you know, it's just they were really jerky about how they did it, but whatever. You know, so discs were kind of doomed to be end of life, and we're still in that downward slope. I mean, it's not they're not gone. Just like VHS was around for a long time, it's still there. You can't buy VHS tapes anymore, though.
Did we learn about this creating DVDs though in B?
No. Well, I think in his last B class he did, but he's transitioning off of that now.
Okay.
So you know, he did in the last B. I don't know if he did last semester or not. He did. Okay.
He did.
The semester before he did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I took
Yeah, we
it,
had to do
so.
everything in the lab.
Yeah, because, you know, nobody's computer has a DVD drive or anything. I mean, none of these computers have them either. So it's like whoopity-doo. So everyone suddenly is walking in with external drives. I still have an external Blu-ray burner that I can plug in on USB 3.0. Do I use it? I haven't used it for a client in 2.5 years. So, yeah. Okay. But yeah, we'll go into this all next week. So realistically, what we're talking about is week 1 is where we're at right now. So generally speaking, I almost hesitate to click this because it's probably going to be out of date or some kind of cringy wording that I don't like anymore. So if you want to read the overview, you're welcome to. But realistically, here are the things that you guys are tasked with, okay? There's a check-in discussion that I just need you guys to go in and follow. The directions are in the assignment. You don't need to do it now. You have the homework, which is media management. There's some videos in this assignment that you watch. You do the instructions. I will say that the materials for that homework are on the server right now. So if you have a drive with you, you can get ahead of this. If you don't have a drive with you, you're going to need to find time to come in and get this content. I will probably not make this, I won't penalize you if you don't get this done next week, because it's the first week of this. So we'll see. And then there's the required question, which is has to do with how you relate to the learning from this week going into next week. So this is due Monday, the 29th. And you need to be able to go in and answer this question. So it's going to basically bring up a question that says, any question based on the reading or homework for week 1. So you can say, where do babies come from? No. So you get the idea. You'll ask a question and that's it. And you get points. Okay. So don't leave it blank and turn it in, because if they're blank entries, I don't give you points for that. I'll just dock you. You got to actually give me something. And it needs to be related to the subject matter. If it is, Randy, how do I turn in homework, which I've had people do, or I don't understand the homework, or those are either for email or for the Q&A forum on Canvas, not necessarily this homework assignment. Okay, so just be aware. I do read them, and I like to try and answer them if they are, if they're relevant to the material. All right, 2 more minutes and then we'll take a break.
So you said that we will need to get files off of the server to do the homework.
Yes.
And that's going to be happening on a regular basis.
No, actually, this is pretty much one of the few weeks in where you will be pulling files off the server to do homework. In the future, your homework is going to be lynda.com. I will provide you guys, I will pre-download the exercise files for all of the courses. But again, through the Sonoma County Library, all of the exercise files are available to you for all of the lynda.com courses that we're going to be taking. So you can download them from your home broadband, or you can download them here. I don't care which. I'll just make them available and you guys make the choice. It used to have to be, I used to have to hand wave a lot and say, well, I'm keeping my private backup copy of this. But anyway, it's all taken care of with the licensing with Lynda.
So for this first assignment, it's on this server?
Yes, and we're going to go through that. I'm actually going to have you copy the content off of the server onto these. We'll start working with it after the break, and then I'll answer questions and kind of get you guys situated so that you're feeling comfortable with this. Is there any questions about how Canvas is set up for you guys? It should be, if you guys have been doing this for a while, Canvas is now the platform that we all use. So it should be not totally foreign to you. Fun fact, I was one of the first instructors, first adjunct instructors to try and use this in the computer studies department. So I was like out there with the machete trying to figure out how to make this thing function. So now everybody's using it, so I look like, oh, you're just, unoriginal. But that's all right. I don't mind. Okay, so let's take a break. Give you guys about 10 minutes. I'm salty. I give you that. It's been a long day. So before we break, I'll just give you a couple more things to think about. I'm a full-time teacher. I teach at Annalee High School. I teach the video program there. I started this year. This was my first year teaching at a high school.
You teach this class?
No, I don't teach this class there. I teach basic video production techniques. As it turns out, one of the students here is a graduate of the previous instructor who, were you from? You're from Annalee too? Oh, so 2 students from Annalee that have taken with the former video program instructor, and well loved. And I knew Ann Humphrey from before as well. But so I started teaching that in August, and I knew I was going to be teaching this. And the job I left to teach at Annalee was the director of film programs at the Sebastopol Center for the Arts, where I was the festival director for the Sebastopol Documentary Film Festival. This year, I'm not the festival director, but I am the technical director for the festival. So I'm going to be doing 3 jobs in the next 8 weeks. So if my hair is on fire, don't freak. It's just me trying to find my way. But please, absolutely, if you have questions, don't let me not answer them for you, okay? Hold me accountable to answer your questions and make sure that you're comfortable and that you're getting the learning that you want out of this, okay? That's my promise to you, is that I want you guys to leave this class feeling like you got something, okay? If at the end of 16 weeks, you say, this was a waste of my time and I'll never get these weeks back, I'm going to not feel awesome and you'll have wasted money. And I don't want that to be the case. I want you guys to feel like you can say, Randy, you didn't answer this question. I'll be like, damn it, I didn't. All right, let's try again. And I will. And so, that's my promise to you guys in terms of this class and how I keep you guys satisfied. Okay, cool. Take a break. Be about in about 5-6 minutes. Come see me if you want to have something general.
Is this being recorded?
Yeah.
The whole class?
Yeah. It's really hard to do remote. I will promise you. It's not going to be super easy
But
to do.
what if I don't? What I want to end up doing?
Are you doing? How's your business going? Yeah.
Like on buildings?
Seeing you on
Yeah.
Facebook?
Or-
Like you have productive.
And so it takes
Yeah, it's a lot of moving
Yeah.
parts.
For yourself?
Working for myself, yeah,
But after
They only told me that
Dude.
you guys do.
But we don't go into specifics of how to, it'll be good from the basics in terms of showing you how the basic mechanics work.
but like usually what companies do specific things, like they'll find somebody who's like multifaceted, and they're like, yeah, we'll just pay you a bunch of money to do all this research. And like you can build a department if you want to do it by yourself.
Okay,
All
so
right.
Good
I'll
for
try to
you.
figure it out. But
Yeah, so
Well, everybody's
You
looking
can make it
at
work. That's cool.
It's-
It's-
I think that
it's
two that
Yeah.
there's a lot of business struggles
I would
last year.
probably have to have a conversation.
I'm going through mine
and
right
see
now.
if you think that's going to be
Yeah.
Generally speaking, if there's a way to get the homework assignments in from you
Yeah.
in some manner,
Yeah.
I just
then-
during my
But it's stuff to think about.
And,
you know, it'll make something better.
yeah, all you gotta do is wait for the smart train.
More experience when I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta keep.
Sir!
How are you? All I gotta say about it is just gotta
I
keep
saw your
pushing.
name on it.
Yeah, keep pushing.
it. What happened?
Hell yeah.
You said you were gonna be-
I'm working on that. You know, let me give you my latest tip. It really works. So I'm reading,
Yeah. All right, I've answered questions. So, Lariva, how you doing?
fine. So I just want to tell you one thing.
Yeah.
There are those of us who were working with professors in classes who did not use Canvas. So I can appreciate that you used Canvas before others
I used
did,
Canvas before
because
anyone else in this
it made
department.
life extremely
Because
difficult.
I took
Canvas
one.
is
Professors
I
did
took
not
one look at
use
Kate.
it.
I
Yes.
took one look at Kate
I
and I
used
said, nope.
Kate. I
Nope.
used Kate.
Yeah,
I used Kate. So
no,
I can
I was
appreciate
never-
you, okay? That's all I wanted to tell
And
you.
I'm gonna have to edit this out of the video so that Mike doesn't hear this. Mike, you didn't hear this. So, yeah, oh my God. He tried to show me Kate and I was just like, nope.
Yeah,
Nope,
it was,
nope,
all I
nope,
can say is
nope.
it was very difficult.
Yeah.
That's all, I'm done.
Okay, David, I need to get you,
You need to bother Mike about adding me.
what's that?
You need to bother Mike about.
He already knows. He gave me your name. That's why I was
know, but,
like,
putting it
so,
into the system because he has two different.
well, if I give you an ad code, can you try?
I can try, but I don't think it's gonna let me because it says I still have to. It says you haven't met the prerequisites for this course.
Yeah, but 2 days ago was the last day that you could add the class without an ad code. So it's like you shouldn't be able to add it without me giving you an ad
I
code.
know, but when I first add the card, it says.
Oh, it wouldn't even let you add it.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
Okay,
what-
well.
So like he has to push it through.
Yeah. All right. Well, it might be tomorrow. It might be.
Do you think you could just email me? Is that a possibility?
Yeah. I can email it to you.
Easier
Just
for
give
me
me
to
your
organize
give me your email so that I've got it, and then I'll put that down. Hi.
Hi,
What's up?
I'm Naomi, and I want to remind you that I'm going to be out of town. I think I sent you an email
Okay.
for the March 13th class.
Okay.
And that's the 2D animation class. That's the one I was actually really looking
Really
forward
interesting.
to.
It might be
Yeah.
earlier. We might be doing it a little
That
bit
would be
earlier.
great if you are doing it earlier.
But I mean,
But,
all the
but you
same,
also
if we're
listed midterm on there too?
yeah, we would be doing midterm just before spring break or just
Yeah.
after. I don't know which.
So that's why I'm going to
And
need to
how,
make
he's just going to be
special
out
arrangements.
that 1 week.
Yeah, well, I'll be gone that week and then part of the spring break week, but we're not having classes that week, so.
Okay.
I will be back like the middle of spring break week, so if you're in town, I could take it that week. Or I can even take it maybe a little early. I don't know what's gonna be covered on it, but I get on a plane on March 11th, so
Here we go.
going to Atlanta.
Hot
And then I'm
Atlanta.
going to Charlotte, Raleigh, and then Virginia Beach.
Oh,
So
so
I got a
simple.
whole East Coast tour, yeah.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
my main gig is in Atlanta though for like 4 days, so I have to be there by the 12th.
The worst case scenario is that the lecture will be online.
Right.
But again, it's
It's the midterm I'm worried about.
yeah.
So I just need
Well,
to
the
make
midterm will all be
special
done online. But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So okay, fair. I'll keep that in mind.
So just I'll be pretty much gone between March 11th through the 21st. It's a 10-day trip.
Well, yeah. Again, the 21st is during spring
Yeah,
break. So
it's
that's
during spring break, so that shouldn't be a problem.
but it's that week prior.
Yeah,
Okay.
essentially. Yeah.
Now, well, because we're starting last Tuesday wasn't our first class. Usually, it would have been our first class last Tuesday. Since we're pushed a week late anyway, it might come to pass that it'll be the week we get back from spring break. But it's kind of like, why would you give a midterm after everyone's taken a week off?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll.
Well, just and you have my name or
Yeah.
remember my email.
Yeah. No, just remind me. We'll get there. Don't freak. It's fine.
So now I'm making plans to bring him back home while I'm going to school. I'm going to interview for one job on Thursday. I just found out about another job today. And then there's a third job that I've already submitted applications for. So I'm having to go to school, try to work, and then try to figure out.
This guy.
And I just found out that today, so I'm just like, yeah, I'll eat the chocolate. I'm just feeling like.
No, this is a remix, but he was Mac was fun.
Some of my counting, hopefully. But they really have. So, but there's one place that he's been going in Clover.
It's kind of old, bro. We're going by.
I'm just like on my feet, and I know those people are really nice to him. So if I can just keep talking about and somebody dies. It's what's a lot of work. Oh yeah, I've been taking care of it, not in the way it needs to be taken care of right now, but basically overseeing everything for the last almost 10 years. The last 2 to 3 years. Excuse me.
No problem. Yes.
I have a very quick question. First, thanks for teaching high school.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Still, that's not
It's challenging.
Yeah. Is there a standard time that we will be leaving class? Will it vary?
Generally, class will run until about 9:15, 9:30 at the latest.
And we'll have a
And then there's times for Q&A and individual questions and any help that people need. But yeah, generally speaking, I don't poll. I find that by about 9:15, everyone's out of gas.
Okay, well, it's not like it's a deal breaker. I just kind of want to get a sense of how to plan my life around it.
Sure, no, I'm right there with you because been there, done that.
Yeah.
No.
Try to go with like kilo, I'm trying to go with neck, and then trying to go to SOB.
Oops.
She put a yes on my Corgi. New York Giants stuff on.
At least I'll put up like 4 songs, show me how to pull this shit. And he's like, yeah, I'll show you.
I've had her now for about a year.
So I'm like, all right,
She's
yeah, we're 6
because I don't like to leave.
afterwards, I'm in the studio, we get a couple beats, I don't know where it says, we get a couple beats and start like that beats. He does the hooks and shit, and then we get shit popping. It's like, I got it set for now, bro.
Till what, 10? That's still nice.
I don't know, bro, but I know for a fact that it's not gonna be for like 3 months. Because I need to make
Linda Marcel, you know, there's nothing park.
I didn't do anything. I was so nice to that dude. I was probably be less.
I live in Santa Rosa, like south of Windsor. And she lives in Rosa Park, so she comes up to me and
He has one that he just released twice.
It's less.
Okay, get ready. We're gonna get started in about a minute.
Starts at 6. That's a 10 o'clock. Yeah. But for me, and then I would get back home at like 10:30.
So on a whim, I went in and just brought up the SonomaLibrary.org/Linda with a Y, Linda for Libraries. So you can, if you have your library card and PIN, the PIN number is kind of the trick there, is you can come here, you type your library card number there. I don't really care if you guys know my library card number, but whatever. So I'll type it in. So 256 379 what I'm not going to tell you is the special PIN. Sorry. And so you see that I have access to everything in Linda. So it's a pretty sweet deal for free to get all of lynda.com. You don't have to just use this for this class, but we will be running homework out of this. Yes.
When I use this for another class, there is a link on the page to get an e-library card, and you can use that number to get into Linda.
You can? I thought it was the physical ones were only able.
It expires after 100.
Oh, okay. So if you want it to last longer than 4 months.
Yeah, but if you want to, like, you know, take care of that now and then.
Yeah, okay. I was not aware of that one, so that's a good tip. So yeah, for those of you who don't desire to walk into a library and get a plastic card with a number and a pin, it's all good. I'm fine with it. What's really cool though is that it gives you access to all of Lynda.com's library. So you can come in here and do After Effects, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, all of it's in here. What I'm going to be looking at, and the part of the recalibration for the class here is that I'm going to be looking at probably not this one, but there's the Premiere Pro Essential Training. Yeah, this one like this. There's a series of these inside of Lynda that I'll probably be cherry picking lessons from for homework. And so those lessons will be updated next week, starting next week. But I probably won't do too much of the essential training because the basics, this is teaching you like how to edit. And this class is not about editing, okay? So that's why we call it advanced post-production, because once you've finished editing a film, then it's how you finish it after you've edited. Okay, so once you edit and you cut material together and you get a timeline with all of the video that you want, and now you're like, how do I polish it and get it ready for somebody to watch this? Okay, how do I make it sound as good as I can make it sound? How do I add titles to it, or how do I make transitional effects, or even color effects, or visual effects, or motion graphics? That's what this class is designed to answer, okay? So and people generally think, well, why would you need to have a class just to teach you how to finish a film? Finishing a film is actually a considerable amount of work. So, if you start from when you finished editing a film, the project's not done. And I think that's the important thing to kind of take away from this. Okay, so yep, Lynda.com is there for you to, the world is your oyster, as they say. Yes?
So there's your library card, and then you talked about VPin. Is it the regular pin that you already have, or is it a special Lynda.com
Nope,
pin?
it's the pin you have from the library.
Cool.
So yeah, the one you'd log into the library to be able to do anything with the library. So it's whether you're renewing checked out books or paying fines or whatever you do. I don't know. But yes, all of that is there. Okay, so.
I have a question about your project scaffold with deliberately empty.
Yes. In fact, that's what we're going to talk about. So if you have a moment, how many of you guys need a refresher on how to connect to the server here? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out of the server. On your computers, why don't you join with me? Now in Windows, this is going to be different. You're going to map it to a network drive, or you're going to connect into it using the file explorer. But on a Mac, you would come over here and go to connect to server. In the server address, we use this is the server that we have here at. I know, sorry, that's the downside to this glorious new 1080p existence, is that now everything's microscopic on screen. So this is SMB://Gemini is the server address for the file server for the building.
And that's the same as the Magini server logon?
It should be.
Class number.
Okay, so yeah, when you connect to it, it's going to come up here, and you type in CS74.21C, and you leave the password empty. I suppose I could have just double-clicked here, couldn't I?
Yes, you could.
I could have, but I did it the hard way. Sorry, everybody. All right, I'll do it the easy way. Here we go. Double-click here.
There you go.
All right, so CS74.21C. 74_21. Click connect. You don't need to provide a password, and it's going to say class data files. And you'll notice that it's got the 7421A, and here's 7421C, which is this class. You double click that, you'll see a couple of folders here. Right now, resources and media is empty, but in-class materials, there'll be, if there's any in-class materials, so generally speaking, when we do exercises in class, the goal for me is to have something for you to do hands-on in every class so that you can practice. So what I'd like you to do is go into week 1, and you're going to find these 3 things. Now, realistically, this was the Google survey that you guys did earlier. But for these 2, you want to, oops, not hit spacebar, but select both of them, or just select all of them. I don't care. And you can either drag them to the desktop or to a folder, you know, on your computer, and they'll copy over. The good news about how these computers are put together is when you shut these computers down, it wipes everything off of these things, so you can be as polluting as you want. Yes?
Are these the things we want to put on our thumb drive?
Yes. You will want to have these. You will want to have at least these 2 items on your thumb drive, okay, or on your external hard drives. So when you talk, but what I'd like to do is once these are copied, I would like to start loading them. Of course, they're going to take however long they take to copy at this point. Could be forever. All right, well, all right, I'm going to plug in a separate hard drive that's going to fast forward me through this process at least. Should have had you guys start doing this before we ran off to a break, but.
So the other one, the crowdfunding one, is fully populated?
Yeah, that one actually has a couple gigs of content in it, and that's why I needed you guys to grab it. Oh man, this is like torture. There's can't safely unplug anything. I'm stuck. That's all right. All right, so I'll copy these over in about a minute. That way I'm taking the load off of the server and you guys can copy things down. So once we copy these, once you get the copy of this Chimera crowdfunding, this is a project I did some years back now. I think this was 3 years ago, for a local makerspace in Sebastopol, California. And this was a crowdfunding video they wanted shot. I ended up using the specific mechanics are not necessarily relevant, but what's important to get from this is that generally speaking, when you create most projects, I mean, how many of you, when you create your projects, just kind of throw everything all in one place? You throw it all into either onto just a hard drive, or you'll so it's all lumped together. So kind of something like this. So there's your whole thing. You've got your project files, your media. There's maybe a sound file. There's a still image, lots of video, and yeah, a couple of project files. So generally speaking, when you look at how you treat media in in your projects, I've seen too often that this is the way that people manage their media on disk. And so the trouble that you run into inevitably is it's hard to find what you're looking for. So once you have this copied over, I'd like you guys to open up the Chimera Crowdfunding 2018-0123.prproj. So this is the Premiere Pro project file. So you'll see that it's the Premiere PR Proj. If you double click that, it's going to launch Premiere, and it will of course want to do this whole bootstrapping thing of all of the loading all of the aspects. I love watching computer software boot. This is the most fun. So what we're going to see is, generally speaking, when you guys work in projects, how many of you guys like to organize your footage in your Premiere projects? Does anybody, do you just all leave it in the project root? Do you guys put bins in? Do you do, so you guys organize your footage, right? So the important thing to take away from that is that when you organize your footage inside of a project, it's only inside the project that it's organized, right? Yes?
I don't know how to get.
There should still be a shortcut on your desktop. Let me come over and I'll take a quick look. So, hang tight. A video filter is missing. All right.
The crowdfunding one?
What's that?
The crowdfunding one?
Yeah.
There's nothing in there for me.
Did it not finish copying?
Maybe.
Because it should have a lot of content in there. It does take a while to copy, so you do need to be patient. And so the first time you'll start this up, you'll notice that you get the familiar. I'm going to douse the lights up here so that you can see a bit. You'll see the familiar Premiere Pro interface. You guys should be at least reasonably familiar with this, with the interface at this point. We are in the editing workspace. If you want to reset that, you can always go reset the save layout. It will kind of reshuffle things in place. But you have your source viewer, and you also have effects controls, audio clip mixer. Remember, that's one of the two mixers for inside of Premiere. And then metadata are your default ones over here. You have the program viewer, which is tied to the timeline. You have the timeline, which is currently set to sequence 2, very creatively named. And then over here you have your project pane. You have media browser in case you're looking for other files. You have libraries, which we haven't really touched on in this class. It is a Creative Cloud feature. So if you're not signed into Creative Cloud, libraries aren't going to work for you very well. So that's why it's part of the reason why we don't really go into it, and so on. And then there's effects and presets and other things here that you can always look through. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to type on my keyboard above the tab key. There is the back tick, or the which actually is it's also the tilde key on the keyboard, just to the left of the 1. Is what that will do is that actually in Premiere will zoom the whole window that's currently selected. So the window that has the pane that has the blue line around it is the currently selected one. If you hit the back tick, it zooms it. Again, because this is now glorious 1080p, it's iChart-tastic in terms of being able to see what's on there. But you'll see that in here, everything is nicely arranged in, we have layers, we have We have different effect files here. We've got music in a bin. We've got picture in a bin. We have sequences, and we have titles. So, and these titles are actually the old Premiere title. It's what they call legacy titles now. That's how old this project is now. But in each of these, you'll see that there's folders, there's bins with what I call B-roll. And so there's individual clips that have B-roll on them. You have clips that are the hero shots, which is the person that's basically the subject of who's speaking. And then I have a bin with stills. And all of that's under picture. So you'll notice that picture, because these are combined, I don't have a separate sound folder because all of my clips, I actually recorded sound on camera. So I didn't have dual system sound in place here. How many of you know what dual system sound is? Well, other than you, Evan. A couple of, okay. So he cackles. Okay, great. So what is dual system sound? Sure, go for it.
Where you record video and audio using devices.
Yep.
One is for, like, for example, use a DSLR just for video,
Mm-hmm.
and use a Zoom recorder for audio.
Right.
When you're editing, you audio from the camera. It's not that good, and then you sync it up with the audio from you got from the Zoom recorder. Goes up in one giant.
You nailed it. That's exactly what it is. So dual system, and inside of Premiere, the nice thing about Premiere is that they have tools built in that do a decent job of doing that sync for you. So you can basically shoot camera sound on a camera and offboard sound recording on a digital recorder like a Zoom or a Tascam or sound devices or whatever you got, and be able to automatically marry the two together and create what they call a combined composite clip that is that has both picture and sound sync, and it's going to be the best sound and the best picture. Because DSLRs are not known for their sound fidelity. You can plug good microphones into cameras, and they will record mediocre sound. So there you go.
Is that like a plug-in?
No, well, it depends on the camera. I mean, like you know, most Canon DSLRs have a little microphone jack.
But you said it does it for you, syncs it for you.
Yeah, it does. Well, yes, and I don't really go into why that is, but where would you do that? So.
Just use slate.
Well, yeah, slating is the most accurate way to do it. But I mean, what these will do is they would take the audio from camera separate from and just for fun, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. You would come in here and merge clips, okay? And when you do that, it's actually going to take the audio from track channel 1 and use that as the synchronize point. So it actually uses the audio from one of your tracks to synchronize to the audio on the other track. How well it does is, you know, depends on how closely they started and stopped recording. If you are doing a film set where you're rolling sound, you know, religiously 2 or 3, 4 seconds before or after camera, depending on which, you know, depending on how you guys run your set, you could trim out the excess and improve the odds of this. But you could also do it to a time code. You could do it to in and out points that are marked based on a slate being closed. You absolutely can do all of that. So, but I don't go into merging clips is not part of this class, okay? Part of that is, again, the assumption here is that you guys have edited your film, and how are we going to get you to the finish line? How are we going to take you from what we call fine cut, where you've got picture and sound where you want them basically, and then deliver a finished video. So, I mean, do you guys, I could probably come up with something next week for doing dual system if you guys want to learn how to do this. Any interest in this?
I was just curious how you made
No. Don't. I'm sorry. Don't misunderstand me. So it's not that you can just throw a bunch of video files and a bunch of audio files into a hopper and just say, hey, you figure it out. No, you actually have to say this audio clip with this video clip, merge them and use the audio waveform as the synchronizing point. Then it will basically do a function of figuring out where it thinks the sync point is. And it may or may not be very well defined. There are plugins that do a great job of this. Pluralize is the one that most people know from the industry, which is, I think that's Red Giant. Red Giant owns almost all of it now. So, but you know, the editing tools all have some form of automatic audio sync built into the editor. Final Cut 10 has it, Avid has it, and Premiere has it. So you can create that. But the point I was trying to get to here is that, you know, everything's nicely organized in the project. You can generally find things by what category they're in. Is it picture? Is it sound or music? Is it an effect? Or is it a sequence, and so on? So you've got all of these different little bins that you've organized. Now, when you contrast that to what we have on disk, which is not there, but let's go to desktop here. When you look at what's on your disk, you might just have it all in one folder here. And so that's when the usefulness of the this project scaffold is a set of folders that I've developed. Actually, I ripped this off. I stole it. I'm totally unabashed in saying this. Stolen with pride from that book that I referenced in the syllabus, the Premiere Pro Studio Techniques, is you can take this, drag it to the desktop, and what you'll notice is that it actually provides you with a preset 8 empty folders. That's why it's called a scaffold, is that there's nothing in them, okay? There's no content in these, but that you can look at, each one has a name that should hopefully help you figure out where you're putting what you will put in them, okay? So you might have, you'll have one that's called original footage. What do you think goes into that? Your raw footage, okay? Footage that you captured from your camera, or if your friend captured it for you on their camera. But it's not footage that you bought, downloaded, stole, whatever, okay? Original footage would be like, this is my content that I created on for visuals. It would almost always be camera-based footage, not audio. We don't really call audio footage, do we? Most of that has to do with how footage has to do with feet of film, but yeah, another matter entirely, or feet of tape. We do have a folder for audio later on. Second is you have a folder that's named project files. Should be pretty clear what goes into that. Are there any questions? Okay, so this is where you would store your Premiere Pro project files. It would probably also be where you'd want your backups or your automatic backups that Premiere makes for you to be stored as well. Graphic sources. So graphic sources is kind of a little bit vague in as much as it could be still images, it could be graphic elements, it could be it could also be some motion elements. There could be some if you bought or if you got some. Then we'll talk about the next one is intermediate exports. Intermediate is what we would determine as work in progress. So if it's not finished video, but it's a work product that you need to be able to move from one program to another, or a checkpoint, or if you're handing off work to another person and they need a format that they can pick it up, that's where you would place this. Audio sources where your sound recording would be. It would also be where your sound effects would go. Stock footage is where you would put things that you bought or licensed. Sometimes that matters so that you know how long your license is for it. And usually when you buy stock footage, you will, sometimes it's in perpetuity. Sometimes you'll license it forever, but not most of the time. Most of the time it's for a time limited period. Exported files would be where you put your final output. And then production paperwork. This is kind of a catch-all for if you have PDFs of or scanned documents of, say, location releases, model releases, other things like that. You'd have a place that you already know where you can find it, okay? So when you look at let me pull up another window here. So when you look at a glot of files and media that are all lumped together like this, you can start to think, oh, maybe there's a better way of organizing this. And so in so doing, you actually can create some problems for Premiere. Does anybody have an idea what problems you create? Go ahead. You break the link. So we'll demonstrate some of that. When you go in here and you say we wanted to organize this, and we're going to drag this over. We'll drag this over to here in original footage, and we're going to put these clips in here. We're going to be like, yeah, man, we're going to get organized. Watch this. Oh, yeah. We're going to get organized, and boom, done. You come back to here, you're going to notice, and of course it's not going to do it for me right now, probably because it's in the same subdirectory. Yeah, Premiere's gotten really good about this. Let me see if it actually locates it. Does it? Yeah, see, it's it used to be that if you moved your clips to a different file, different folder, it would immediately unlink them. The reason why it worked here is because we put it in a separate, in the same folder. So if on a separate thing we moved it back, let's do this a different way. No, I was going to change the name, though that would work too. What if we took all of these and dragged them over here? That's probably going to break things. No. Oh, come on. Yeah, Premiere's getting too good for me. Generally, it's when you move things to different disks or you rename them. If for any reason you change the name of a file, you're going to break the link on that for sure. So if we go in here and just go, no, this is 9A. Now, that should be something that it's not going to recover from very well, assuming I'm using it. God, it's still just, it's vexing me at no end. Really? What am I doing wrong? I've got this link to the wrong place. I'm almost certain of it. Yeah, well, fair enough. Boom. Yeah, and so it begins. So, all right. Nope, that should be broken. All right.
Can't you just?
I'm crying inside.
Can't you just use the titles for your scaffolding and just create bins with those names?
You could, but the point of it is that the bins here inside of Premiere are not actually on your disk. Okay, so but you could just say picture, B-roll, and then have your media in your project lockstep match the media that you have on disk. It's not a terribly, it's not perfect, but what you'll find is that if the projects get big enough, and you might not experience it here, you might not ever experience it depending on how far you go with this, but you might run into a situation where you have multiple hard drives that you have to use. There's so much footage that you're running multiple disks at the same time. And now how do you reconcile that? Now you're like, oh, well, one disc has this half of the film and this one has the other half, and I can't possibly get them on one disc, so how do I make it work? So the fact that you have it organized one way in your project is fine. And how you organize it is that's certainly each person's taste. But how you deal with organizing it here, where you will move it into a folder that is separate from, so that this is, Now you might say that, okay, so we've got this footage here. You can subfolder this and be like, okay, so here's day 1, or you can call this reel 1, or you can call it card 1, or whatever you want. I mean, it's like however you want to organize things on disk. Just make sure that you have it in a format that's consistent from project to project. What's nice and what's comforting to me as a producer, when I come in and look at former projects that I've worked on, I know exactly where to go for things because I'm using the same scaffold for my projects. So even if underneath original footage, it's a hot mess like this, or if I've said, oh, these are all my card 1 files, and so now they're under card 1, and then create another one called card 2 and put these under card 2. Okay, now I've got multiple layers of organization on disk for where your media is. So this is media management in terms of disk media, not in terms of, I mean, you're already organizing this. You guys said, when I said, who's doing this now? Who's using bins and Premiere? You're all like, yeah, hell yeah, we're doing it. So that's cool. That's great. But you got to understand that there's no direct correlation between the bins on your project and the folders on your disk. You have to create that structure. Okay. So part of your homework and part of what I like you guys to experiment with now while you're still copying 2 gigs of stuff to your drives is creating this kind of structure for you. Where do you think this content that's in the project should go into these folders? Okay. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are less obvious. And, you know, I grade based on the homework. I basically grade on, is it plausible? Because, I mean, I've clearly recognized that not everybody's going to, hey, I got my steps in. So not everybody's going to organize their files in exactly the same way. There's no one right way to do this. I'm giving you a structure into which I'd like you to experiment with this week. If you pick up this system and carry it forward for yourself, outstanding. If you hate this and you never do it again, that's all well and good. But for this week, you're doing it my way. Next week, you can do it however you want, as long as it makes sense. If you turn in your homework to me and if it's all a mess like this, that's going to actually cost you points. Okay? Work ethic counts in this. You need to build. I need to be able to find your homework. Okay? I need to be able to see that you're making sense of it. If I'm looking at your homework submissions and I see this, I'm kind of like, do they know what they're doing? So that's my challenge to you guys for this week in terms of what we're going to be doing, what you guys have the remaining time tonight to do here in class. And you can experiment with things. You can ask me questions. Hey, Randy, where do you think this would go? And I'm happy to answer them. And then, but next week, part of what we're going to do is, and I'm going to adopt this, the routine that Mike used to do or still does, is I would like you to, once you've got everything arranged, you're just going to kind of open all these up. And I think you can do this in Windows too. Is that true?
No.
You can't do this in Windows?
No, it's not the same way.
It's not the same way?
No.
Ah, rat. No. Bummer. Okay, well, you can't do it in Windows. You can't do it in Windows. But I would like to get some kind of a screenshot of how you've got it organized, okay? If you can't drill down into this, that's fine too, but I still need to see how this makes sense for you. Because the alternative is that you're going to turn in 2 gigs of stuff for me next week. So, choice is yours.
So all you're asking us to do is rearrange.
I'm asking you to put the, I'm asking you to rearrange the media into a folder structure, and then
you just want this.
And then it should, you know, I'm shocked that this is so well behaved that I can't even I can't break the.
Well, the files don't import, right? So it's already broken.
What's not broke? Oh, it's not broke. It's
The
broken
white
for you
logo
guys?
doesn't come in and it has broken it.
Oh, all right. So clearly that has to do, I know what this means then. Okay, good. It probably, I get you. Watch what happens. I'm going to close this project.
No, we're just rearrange all the files that are in the folder, not the project. We're not putting anything in the project, right? We're just rearranging.
No, you don't need to do anything at all to the project.
Do we need to look at the project or what's it?
Well, you'll need to, because I'd like to have it relinked. So when I open this now, I bet you it breaks a bunch of stuff. Let's find out. Because I had my little ace in the hole drive was plugged in. That's why it probably was working correctly. Yeah.
I'm wondering about something you just said, which
Mhm.
is
There you go, that's what I'm getting.
This is actually just a warning. I think this had to do with my laptop. I'm not sure what. I got to look at what that is. That's either an old video filter that shouldn't matter. Yeah, now all kinds of things are broken. Cool, sweet. All right. Yeah.
So did you just say once we get it organized, get the assets organized into the scaffold?
You have to load the Premiere project, relink all the media, and save the project, so that when I load your project, I won't see this.
The screenshot and the relinked project
Mhm.
are what we're going to be turning back in. Yeah.
Let me think.
The Chimera logo is missing, essentially.
That was the only one I couldn't.
So it actually isn't missing, but
Well, it's
yes,
there, but I
it's.
couldn't get it to like.
Yeah.
You couldn't get it to, oh, because I bet you it is.
But for this exercise, we don't have to worry about it.
Oh, it won't link because of that. Yeah, for this exercise, that's my problem, not yours.
That's why we had to go.
My projects are so old now. See, this is don't ever get old projects. All right, I'll fix this.
So we don't need to worry about that.
No, if it's not linking because of the content itself, don't hurt yourselves. I don't need you guys having issues with. Yeah, all right. Issues with me. So if you can't link that one, then what would it be? Actually, you could just ignore it. You could just offline that one.
What to it?
You offline it, and then basically it kind of pulls it out. It's just going to basically leave it unlinked in the project. And now when you come in here, you'll want to find. So the original clip names were .mov, but the files we're looking for are. Now this is where we're going to run into. Oh hey, where's that footage?
What's the difference between canceling and offlining? I know canceling would probably just wipe it off everything.
Well, canceling will basically not load, won't load the project. If you offline everything, it will basically just unlink all of those clips, and they'll all be done like this. They'll all say media offline, okay, and they'll all look red in your timeline. So clearly, the problem of linking, and when you do that, you'll see that all sorts of things change in your project. You're going to start to run into all of your clips are going to have question marks next to them. They won't load. If you double click them, they're just going to come up here and say it's an offline file. Okay. So, and then when you go to relink them, you will see, you'll come in here. Sorry. You come in here, grab these. I'll control click and click link media, and you're back to this. Okay. So it's like, but the idea is that you want to, in your process of moving media around, you're going to run into this problem. If you haven't already, you're going to run into it all the time. Okay. Anytime you disconnect hard drives, or if you accidentally leave a clip, that's why this worked. That's why it was working for me, was it was actually referencing media on this drive. Once I unplugged it, now you see it's like, oh no, now what? So I'm going to go find where that, before you guys leave today, I'm going to find that, that Chimera logo because I want to fix this. So anyway, so for the moment, why don't you guys, what I'd like you to try out is move the media around, get used to linking it and relinking it, see how intelligent it is. Maybe it's not as intelligent as we thought because, like I said, I went in here and had to deal with Chimera logo. All right, so let's find out where this is supposed to go. See, there it is. Yeah. Oh, it's because it's in a title. That's why. Oh, yeah. All right, so that's part of the problem here is that it was dropped in as a title on instead of a separate. It wasn't brought in as a separate piece of footage. Yeah, it's a legacy title too. Yeah, exactly. So when you go under here and you look at file new, you got legacy title. There's the old way of doing titles in Premiere, which is how you used to do them back in 2015. All of 2.5 years later, and now it's totally changed. So yeah, let me quickly find that. All right, so import. See, I have lots of copies of it. Transparent, that's all, they're all the same. All right.
JPEGs are faster images, so they're usually graphic. Okay, yeah. Even if it's 3D, it's still graphic.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why this is so vexing, is that the having added an image to this has what has made this so challenging all of these years. Oh man, that's all right. Before we break out of this, what I want to do, the other thing that I wanted you guys to look at this week is, this is an auspicious beginning. I love it. With this project, I want you guys to experiment with the following. When you guys go to export a sequence, how do you guys, what did you guys learn from Mike? I'm gonna, yeah, I know offline material is not going to be encoded. So when you guys used to do export settings with Mike, how would he tell you to do it? I'm listening.
It looks like how it's set up right now.
Yeah, so he would say you're going to do a QuickTime, right? And then he wants you to do NTSC DV, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I want you to never, ever, 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 ever do that again. Okay? Cool. I'm glad we understand each other. So part of the problem that and invariably what will happen is one or more of you will backslide on this and will turn something in to me that is done with this preset. It's really important that we don't use this. We either will encode directly to H.264 on the format. So your format will be H.264. And if you want to use a preset, I would use like YouTube 1080p HD. Okay. Or if you really feel like drinking from the fire hose, you can come down here to the video settings and start. You can tweak some of these. The nice thing with this with the video settings is that now Premiere provides you with this lovely button here that says match source. What that does for you is that if your source sequence is set to a certain frame rate, a certain pixel size, frame size, and aspect for the pixels, field order, so on, you can actually kind of automatically kind of select those so that they will match what the sequence is. Now, in this case, my footage was 1/4 HD. It's 960 by 540. And but the frame rate is 2398, the field order, progressive, and so on. So all of these were picked up automatically from the sequence by clicking match source. That can help you with a lot of things. If you want to make sure that the output that you're going to create matches what you're giving it. The next thing is, so we're either going to do, for your regularly, you're going to do H.264. The problem with H.264 is that it is not considered an edit-friendly codec, okay? Computer power these days is much more than it was 8 or 9 years ago. But it used to be that computers couldn't easily edit H.264 encoded video. All of the DSLRs that you guys probably use, or your AVC HD camcorders, and even to a certain degree, the smartphone videos that you shoot on your iPhones or your Galaxies or your whatevers, are all recording H.264 video. But that is not what we would consider an edit-friendly codec. Now, does anybody want to venture a guess as what I mean by edit-friendly? No? Okay. Edit-friendly in this respect would be that it is easier that the video codec actually encodes every frame of video. Okay, so that fully encodes every frame of video, I think is the best way to describe that. So when you talk about H.264, the way that works is, and I don't mean to get too propeller head, you don't need to remember most of this, is that it will record periodically, it's going to encode the entire frame of video. And then the rest of the time, you know, but it only does that maybe once a second, maybe once every other second, maybe it's every second and a half, who knows, you know, depends on the encoding. So those are what they would call keyframes inside of, or iframes inside of H.264. The rest of them are actually frames that are just showing the pixels that have changed from the last iframe. Okay, so that's what happens, is that it'll show you every pixel is encoded, and then it's just the pixels that have changed. And that's how they get such great file compression on H.264. The trouble is that if you're scrubbing a timeline and you want to find at this absolute time index inside the video file, you want to know what that frame looks like, the computer has to go to the file, find the nearest iframe, and then render all of the intermediate frames to get you that thing. So it's actually working extra to render that frame of video in the editor for you. And if you're doing every video clip that you add on top of it, so if you're doing a composite where you've got 4 or 5 different video files all there, and they're all H.264 video, your computer's working extra hard. And so if you have a video codec that encodes every single frame, when you put the playhead on a particular time code index, it goes, oh, that's right here. Here you go. And the editor now the computer has more available horsepower to do things like color correcting, visual effects, chroma key, all these other things that you want to do inside of, whether it's Premiere or After Effects. You have that horsepower available to you if you use intermediate codecs. Okay, so people that are used to using things like Final Cut 7, raise your hand if you ever use Final Cut 7. Oh, a few of you. That's amazing. There's still a few of you that have done this, but you are probably familiar with how Final Cut 7 would want to transcode everything to ProRes. ProRes is an intermediate codec. Okay, if you don't know what ProRes is, that's fine. We'll talk about that. But the idea behind intermediate codecs is that we want to switch this from something like H.264 to QuickTime, but we don't want to use a preset because the presets here are kind of heinous. Though these are helpful. These are actually not bad. I know that Mike doesn't like using these, but these are actually decent intermediate codecs. GoPro Cineform is an intermediate codec that is edit friendly for you because it encodes every frame of video. If you wanted to come down here, so if you're not going to use a preset, what are you going to do? You're going to come down to the video group here under that, and you're going to set here, and you're going to see now on Windows you won't see this, but on Windows you will see GoPro Cineform. You will also, do they also, I mean, there's a lot of other ones in here that you could use that are not awesome. The other one that I suggest looking at is this one, DNX HD is another intermediate codec that you can look at too. So in the homework, you're going to see that I want you to load the project. I want you to organize the project, get a screenshot of that, and then I want you to export the project as in one of these intermediate formats, whether it is DNX HD, ProRes 422 for you Macintosh people, or GoPro Cineform. What you will notice is that if you're on Windows, you might need to load QuickTime for Windows on there in order to be able to view any of these codecs, especially ProRes. There is I have an announcement on the canvas. Let's see if I still have Canvas up here. Nope, I don't still have Canvas up here. So, oh, here we go. So I do still have it. If you look under announcements, you'll see that I actually have a couple already here. QuickTime for Windows. This one actually has, I just modified it today to talk about using Premiere and After Effects on Windows, and you need to be able to view ProRes footage. You will, and for this project, you probably will. You might need to install QuickTime for Windows. The problem is that there was a big security lapse with that plugin. So the idea is that this shows you how to install just the QuickTime Essentials on Windows if you haven't already done so. It's a good idea if you're working in video on Windows to have these codecs available to you so that you can read ProRes files, because if you work with anybody that works on a Mac, you're going to run into this and you're going to be like, why can't I see your files? You should be able to, I think Adobe has finally itself inside of Premiere will decode ProRes automatically inside of Premiere, but outside in Windows itself, you won't be able to play any of these video files. Just be aware of that. I know. Good times. Happy. All right. Gives me something to work on. The other announcement that you'll see here is lynda.com, which is my little instructional video on using lynda.com from the Sonoma County Library. So all of those pieces are under inside of Canvas for you guys. Okay, 9:04. I think we've hit the wall, or I've just about hit the wall. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to try and find that image and load it onto the drive so that you guys can have it onto the server so that it links correctly. So I'm going to work on that right now. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Come see me. I'm going to cancel out of this. I got to keep. All right. So, link media.
So does that mean we'll have to download it again after you have put the logo in?
Might be that way. Let me find out what the story is here. So I'm going to close this. Okay. Look.
What a bunch. pitch is a crossover between just those. That one kind of came from out of the blue, but it's actually I did some research that he has initials BM.
Oh, really? Hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah, oh, I heard a lot of great ones actually. There's a lot of things that are you into the seven different activities seem to get that you know, multiple actors and it seems like they're able to develop a good story and a really good dialogue.
yeah, that's what the first one was.
Yeah, you really work with
Yeah.
maybe go black and white.
It's called. Let's see.
Oh, nice.
I don't want that.
No, it's on the black. She's fired, bro.
Just sort of all day.
Oh, this guy is just way out there.
That's what I thought. If that sounds like it.
Since we live with a lot of the big.
So it's what's the story about?
It would be just like a, you know, I don't
Wait till they get to Futures Park Road. You're gonna pull out.
The other thing was, based on empirical data and rational factors. So this woman determined from looking at this instrument and by the paper trackers. I never really paid attention, and then later I started checking out. It was a 1950 Bandolier Brazilian guitar.
High produces Michael made it. Futures. He's like, oh.
Anyways, this character that's basically down in
You're getting pretty close.
Finds it in a dumpster.
a lot of videos too. And then I got inspired about how to develop and one thing that didn't do is I was thinking that once if you can apply that.
That's why I say it's.
No, bro. And then fucking Cultures 2 is coming out on like in 3 days. 26. They already like released like no after Stir Fry was for real.
Whoa, hello. I'll just put that down there. Okay.
There's always ghost stories.
Yeah, bro, but I don't know what that is.
Take it out this way. Eject it and then, oh, it's okay.
Slap my shit for like 3 weeks on repeat.
Yeah, there's the ghost of the boy. Now there's
Pharrell had that like that beat for like spells and yeah, some shit like that.
There's another But anyway, so that's. Location was a lot easier to do.
Because there's nothing there. It's just like notes, right? Wait.
Yeah, they send out like
So we don't need that.
hello like hi guys like
So we're just waiting for them to finish up putting the logo in, and then I just got it.
This is for another project.
Because this one is not.
and then there's like it has like highlighted like
I can just kill this one, right?
Yeah, I'm actually doing it.
Go for road.
Media 20.
All right, so what I suggest for you guys is just to offline the logo, because what happens is that if you go ahead and locate all the other media and you get to that, this is what happens. It's going to say logo, which is fine. That's if that's the one thing. And this is because, again, I need to go back and update this whole thing so that titles are done the way that Premiere does titles now, which I can do, but I'm not doing it tonight. But yeah, for purposes of having a project file where everything is linked, if that's the only thing that basically is broken, I'll live with it. And that's this file right here, this Chimera logo.
So just go ahead and use it then.
Yeah, just don't link that. Just can't. What'll happen is when you open the project. So I'm going to close this again. Is when you open that project, it's when you get to this one, just hit cancel on that one. Link all of the other files. So you can find all of the other media files wherever you've placed them. They're usually going to, in my case, I'm looking at linking this one. So I'll go to locate. I'll find it under, I think it's under card 2. And that's 2015-419. Yeah, that's the one I named .9A. And it basically now has located all of the other media for that one. What's that? So, and then when you go to this one, you'll go to this bit or this folder, you'll locate that. It's automatically going to pick up all the other media that's in that folder. And now you've got this AEP file, which is actually out of date. So you got to go find the other project file, which is still sitting under here. Now it's called Crowdfunding 2018 instead of 2017.
So if we already downloaded that stuff before, do we need to re-download?
No, if you have it, this is the footage. This is everything that's on that disk.
I don't think this is card 1 or card 2.
No. Those are folders that I created when I was doing my that was the in-class experimentation. So wherever you place the media files, you're going to go locate in those folders. When you get down to this one file, because if you try to locate it, it's there, it's in there. But when you try to connect it, it's going to give you an import failure. That has to do with the fact that it's these legacy titles in Premiere. So just for this one, you just click cancel, and it'll offline just that one file. If you have any other ones that are offline, it'll show you in the timeline. So now none of these are located, huh? Well, fantastic. So it's going to come back and insist that you locate all your media. I think it's because I canceled out of it. Okay, so once you link it, it's there. Now you see that I actually have footage linked here. So again, this is the perennial problem of if you work in a nonlinear editor that links to files that are off of disk, or if they get moved around, or if you borrow somebody else's disk, or you move to another computer sometimes. Because I guarantee you, when you guys turn your homework into me, I have to often relink your media. So, because you're giving me a folder that has your project and your media, and usually all I have to do is find the first media file in your project, and then it relinks everything else automatically. This is being pernicious, and it's the last time I'm going to use it in this class, that's for sure. So it's if you can go in and relink the media, then it will. I mean, it's going to make it. It will relink. All of these will relink, except for this one. And once that's done, then the exercise can move forward. So that's the downside. If you guys are really vicious, you can just delete that, and then it's just black. It's just black video for that intervening part. But the rest of it should still be. Once it's all put in, you should have this surround. This is actually a dynamic linked After Effects composition. So if you were to,
About the After Effects file that is in the folder,
yeah.
is that an export from the original from Premiere Pro, or was that an original composition needed
So,
for the After Effects?
all right. Well, I don't want to get into too much detail there, but what it is I took footage from the project, brought it into After Effects, created a composition there, did the and then added all of the text and stuff to that. I'll show it to you if you guys want to see it.
From scratch using the same assets. You didn't export like a completed film into, because you could do it that way.
Yeah, you could do it that way, and I usually would. I usually would just basically go in After Effects. I would render it out to a file, and then I'd re-import it into the project and just put the video file there. Because when you do it this way, when you're doing a dynamic link, you're asking After Effects to render those frames for you automatically. And so that's more work for the computer. It can make playing it back in the editor a little tiresome. So that's, but for this exercise, like I said, this was one of these, I did the whole project in I think I did the whole project in 4 days for this nonprofit. And that was including shooting and then editing and the compositing. So I was just like, boom, 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 done. And so I did it all in one place, and I was just like, get it all in there. I mean, I didn't use Audition, I didn't use Pro Tools or any other external tools for audio. I did all the audio mastering in Premiere. I did that one shot right here was done as a composition in After Effects, but everything else was pretty straightforward. And so it was just B-roll over interview, B-roll over interview. And so you'll see, yeah, this is my interview audio. This is my interview video. So sometimes the interview video shows, and of course if it was all, yeah, you can see, I put a title under his name, Dana Woodman. But yeah, his interview video is what's here. And so most of the time I just lay video on top of it as on a higher track. So yeah. So yeah, just if you have questions about linking it, definitely ask. But it can be done. Yeah, super fun.
So when will this be due?
Should be due Tuesday. If you guys tell me that it's impossible, then we can review it and look it over again on Tuesday as the first thing we do when we get back. But I don't want to belabor this excessively. The point of this exercise is to get you familiar with linking, managing media, and dealing with intermediate codecs. Okay, so if you can put your media into different folders, link it in Premiere so that it still plays out, and then export either in ProRes, GoPro Cineform, or DNx HD, one of those three. Not NTSC DV, not uncompressed, 10-bit, which is going to be like a 4 GB file. So it's like there's an animation codec in QuickTime, which is heinously huge files. Will play in editors and is a valid intermediate format. It's just not terribly efficient. It's very slow. So there's lots of those available, but the ones that I'm asking you for are in the assignment. You'll see the names of them: DNx HD, GoPro Cineform, or ProRes.
And in Windows, since you can't really click on it and show all the different things that are inside, can we just do it in the bins and then take a screenshot of that?
No. In Windows, how are you going to do it in Windows? Let's see how you. Sure.
Last semester is you just have to open each thing in a new window.
Okay, yeah. So for Windows, you would come in. Yeah, that's a good idea. So we'll do it this way. For you guys in Windows, you would actually open in a new, well, this would be a new tab, but you would go in and have a separate window for each of these bins, okay, or for each of these folders. And so if it's, and so you might not want to go multiple levels down because that might get crazy, but if you can do something like this, and then you have another one where you would have a second I just put a tab on someone else. So you'd have a second folder for, you'd have a window for original footage, you'd have a window for project files, and then you take a screenshot of all of that. That would work.
But you're not going to be able to go down and see.
No, you won't be able to drill down. If you want to be super savvy on that front, yeah, if you're going to do this, then it would get messy real quick. Talk to me. If you want to do it, if you want to go super detailed, I'll figure something out. Okay. Yeah.
Could just have the file folders, but in each folder, screenshot of what file folder. That way you can.
That could work too. I don't want to belabor this, but again, I want you guys to be able to show that you've placed these files in, you know, in the folders that make sense to, you know, to you. And again, as long as you go through this exercise, you probably do fine. The harder part is going to be exporting an intermediate codec. That's been my finding, is that the first part with the whole, yeah, placing files where you want is, yeah, that's relatively easy to do. You guys know how to move files around in Windows and Mac OS. It's how to make sure that Premiere can find those files again, relink them into a usable project, and then export something out of it that you can then turn in. So I will want the screenshots and the export. I don't think I want the project file, because the project file in this case is not helpful. I mean, it is in the point of view, from the point of view of it has all the bins, but I've already put the bins there. I don't know that. I mean, if you wanted to give me a screenshot of the project browser like this, I mean, that would be okay too. But I just, again, these are already organized for you, so I don't know that it's going to be. You're going to give me screenshots of work that I did 4 years ago. So yeah, if you're not moving the media in the bins, don't worry about giving me a screenshot of this. This is not, that's not helpful to you. I think what's helpful is, you know, wrangling the offline media problem, which you will run into. And then, and again, remember when I tell you that the Chimera title thing, I'm almost like, just get rid of all the titles, but nah. You know, this is the problem child. This Chimera logo right here is the thing that's causing so much heartburn in that project. And considering it's a legacy title, I'm less inclined to be merciful. So, all right, I'm out of gas. How are you guys doing? Excellent. All right, let's call it a night. Again, don't freak on this. If you're having trouble, contact me. We'll work through it. You know, I'm trying to recalibrate this, so I'm using content from 3 years ago, and I'm finding that it doesn't hold up to the challenge. All right, have a great night, guys. See you online, and yeah, you have all my contact info. Reach out if you need anything.
Permission. Yeah, I understand. She sent me a few more photos. They're on enough. Yeah, I know.